You've been taught that sales is a battle, and objections are something that you must overcome. They're not. And that mistake is costing you more sales than you think. I'm Josh, the sales guy, and this is Improve or Die Trying. Today, we're breaking down why most salespeople lose control the moment an objection shows up. When an objection shows up, most salespeople change. You can feel it happen. The tone shifts, the pace changes, and suddenly they're not guiding anymore. They're reacting. They start explaining. They start justifying. They start trying to fix it. And in that moment, they think that they're helping. They think that they can just say the right thing. And if they do, they'll handle it the right way and they can move the sale forward. But actually, what's happening is the opposite. Because the moment you start reacting, you've already lost control of the sale. As a young, unseasoned salesman, I thought objections were something to beat. Every book I read said the same thing, how to handle the client. But what I didn't realize was that those books were written for buyers of the past. And here I was selling in the present. So I did what they said. If the buyer said price, I explained price. If they said timing, I explained timing. If they brought up reviews, I defended the company. And sometimes it worked. But more often, the more I explained, the more they pulled away. You could feel it. The conversation would slow down. They'd get quieter. And what felt like progress started turning into resistance. And I didn't understand it at the time because in my head, I was doing exactly what I was supposed to do. I was answering the objection. But what I've learned over years of selling is something completely different, something that changed everything. I wasn't losing sales because my answers were wrong. In fact, a lot of my answers were probably fine. The product was good, the logic made sense, the explanations, they were solid. But that wasn't the real issue. The real issue was timing. I was answering too early. I was so focused on what to say, I never stopped to ask what the buyer needed first. They didn't need more information. They needed to feel heard. They needed space to think. They needed clarity before correction. And because I skipped that step, my answers didn't feel helpful. They felt like pressure. They felt like I was trying to move past the concern instead of understanding it. That was the miss. I thought I was resolving the objection, but I was actually increasing the resistance. That's when I realized something. The word overcoming is the problem because overcoming implies a fight, and fights create resistance. So I stopped trying to overcome objections and I started trying to align with them. I stopped trying to beat the concern and I started trying to understand what was underneath it and guide that decision from there. And when I made that shift, everything changed. The conversation slowed down, the pressure disappeared, and the buyers started to open up instead of shut down. That's when I realized objections, they're not rejection. All they are is hesitation. And hesitation follows a pattern. So what does that actually look like in the moment? Well, it's not a script. It's a sequence. I call it ACE. Acknowledge, counsel, exit. Every objection you hear runs through the same sequence. First, acknowledge it. Not agree with it, just acknowledge it. Because until the buyer feels heard, they're not listening, they're defending. Second, counsel. This is where you slow it down. Ask a question. and actually understand what's underneath the objection. Because most objections aren't the real issue. They're just how the concern shows up. And third, exit. You move forward, not with pressure, but with direction. You help the buyer resolve the concern and make a decision. ACE. Acknowledge, counsel, exit. Run that sequence and resistance goes down instead of up. Now, a few things are happening here. First, when a client raises an objection, they're expecting a fight. So if you skip acknowledgement, their brain doesn't relax. It stays in defense. Second, the order matters. This isn't ready, fire, aim. It's ready, aim, fire. If you jump ahead, you create resistance. If you stay in order, resistance comes down. And third, you can't linger. You acknowledge, you counsel, and then you move forward. Because the longer you sit in it, the faster they go back to defending. The exit matters just as much as the other two. That's what creates momentum. Today's video challenge is this. For the next 7 days, stop trying to overcome objections. Don't fix them, don't explain them, and don't jump ahead. Just run ACE. Acknowledge it, counsel it, and move forward toward that exit. Even if it feels slow, even if it feels uncomfortable, stay in that sequence. Because the moment you feel the urge to jump in, that's the moment you're about to create resistance. If you're talking, you're guessing. Catch it, slow it down, and run ACE. At the end of the day, objections aren't something you overcome. They're something that you align with. Because the moment you stop fighting the concern is the moment the buyer stops defending it. And when that happens, the conversation changes. Less pressure, more clarity, and better decisions. That's ACE. Acknowledge, counsel, exit. Simple, but not easy. If you do this, if you slow down, if you stay in the sequence, you'll get better and you'll win more sales and you'll feel more in control while you do it. But if you don't, if you keep reacting, if you keep jumping ahead, if you keep fighting the objection, nothing changes. You keep getting the same resistance, the same hesitation, the same results. And over time, this is where burnout lives, or this is where it dies. Because when every concern feels like a fight, this job gets heavy. Where you are in 5 years will come down to this. Either you learn to guide or you continue to slide. That part is up to you. If this hit you, drop a comment. Tell me where you turned an objection into a battleground. And be honest, not for me, but for you. Because the moment you can see it, you can fix it. And if you're serious about getting better, subscribe. Because everything here is about one thing: becoming the person this job actually requires. I'm Josh the Sales Guy. This channel is about sales, influence, and becoming better at the craft. In this profession, there are only two options: improve or die trying.